basketball coach, Danno Wise. Coach, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here with us. How's it going for you?
Going well, Mark. How you been?
I've been good, coach. Just like everybody else, trying to, keep some semblance of normalcy and, keep on trucking.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of that, coach, just like everybody else, how have you been, how you been doing? How you been kind of unwinding, adjusting the things up and down the roller coasterness of it all?
That's probably the biggest thing, Mark, is just trying to stay flexible. I'm a planner, as I assume most coaches are. I like to plan things. I like to know what's going on. And ever since March 13th, we really have been having to take it day by day with athletics, with academics, with life in general. So trying to keep in touch with the kids, make sure they're trying to do some sort of workouts. We're not doing summer workouts at PI due to the situation with COVID. But that's it. Just kind of waiting to see what and when we're going to do something.
Yeah, for sure. And I know being one of the sports that has gotten going, whether it be for just regular rec time or just some tournaments that people have planned together during the summers. Travel ball is the softball, and I know you have a lot of girls in that background. How has it been keeping up with them? Making sure they're doing what they need to do. And above all, staying safe.
Right there, we have a couple of travel ball players. That's one thing in PI in recent years. We haven't had the same numbers of travel ball year-round players that we once did. But we do have one, of course, our rising senior, Allison Gonzalez, the main one. And of course, she's one that you never got to worry about. She's going to be doing what she needs to do to take care of herself, take care of her body, and improve her game. And she's out there working both on her own and with her travel team. A couple others that do play travel ball, they're at various levels. Some travel teams are full on back in, and some are just holding some practices, and some are still waiting to see. It's the girls that don't play year round, which is the majority of our players, that I'm, trying to make sure that they're doing whatever they can, not just strength and conditioning wise, but trying to maintain a skill level and improve on their skill level over the summer.
Yeah. And, it must be a little different. Usually these softball teams, especially in recent years, a lot of girls play travel balls. So, what's that been like for you to maybe not have as many, but, just integrating them through the year?
Well, it's been different. When I first came to PI, we were loaded with travel ball players, my daughter being one of them. For 3 or 4 years, we had travel ball players on the JV.
Oh, wow.
For about the last 4 years, we've really averaged 1 to 2 or maybe 3 travel ball players on our varsity team each year. So that said, we get a lot of players in PI that as freshmen have never played, or at most have played Little League. So we really have to kind of do both, get them going and teach them the fundamentals rapidly, and also pull them up to that game speed level at a varsity game situational level. And really, that was a big hit for us with COVID, Mark. We had a group of juniors this year that we had been, big group. Most of them had not played a lot, but we had really built towards this 2-year window last year and this year where we were loaded up. We did only lose 2 seniors. One of them was a travel ball player, but nonetheless, we're bringing most everybody back. So that's the good thing. But it is a little different in how you build your team. You have to build it with an eye for a couple of years down the road, not just picking up players and putting them together.
Yeah, and you mentioned that maybe you don't have many travel players, but you do a good job. Within the program, you guys have been a pretty solid team the last couple of years. You're in that district with rival World Honda. That's a good team that you guys have gone out there and gone toe to toe with on a couple of occasions. So, just seeing this year, before you talk about March 13, I think you guys, that was probably one of the last game dates. Am I correct? That you guys had?
Yeah, that was the last game date. Yeah, okay. The last game date.
So from that point, the small sample serving you had, just what was your thoughts on the overall team? How's the season looking? I think you guys were 3-0 before the shutdown. So just what do you remember from that?
Well, that was the thing. We came into this season with high expectations, and we're always a playoff team. We're always winning. We always got a winning record. So that's one of the things I always stress to the girls. We may not have the same travel ball type player that the teams we're playing against, but that's not an excuse for us not to win. And the girls have really bought in. I've worked with a tremendous group of girls and coaches at PI here over the last few years. They work hard. They believe they can win. And this year they had already proven it. You know, we'd beaten the number 4 team in the state in Divine during our tournament here in a great come from behind win. We were 3-0 in district, looking for a big showdown as always with Rio Hondo, who was also 3-0 and was going to be coming to town the next week. So I think Coach Esparza and I, who have a lot of respect for, were both kind of looking forward to that matchup. And of course, it never happened. We left the field Friday, March 13th after beating Gruya and never returned.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk us through that game with Divine. You could talk about the number 4 team. I mean, that's got to be one of the feather in your caps from this season. I mean, just what was that like? I mean, just what was the feeling going into a game like that? I mean, just overall.
Well, you know what? It was an interesting game, Mark, because that was our tournament here. And, you know, this whole year, we knew we were going to be pretty decent, but we were also going to be thin. We didn't have a lot of depth. And when we were playing Sinton earlier in the tournament, our starting catcher, one of our 2 seniors, went down with a high ankle sprain. And in fact, she never got to play again until she made 1 or 2 plate appearances in that last game, March 13th. So luckily she got to come back in. But she went down. So we have like a domino effect since we don't have a lot of depth. We move one player from one position to cover catcher, and then we move this one and that one. So we go into the Divine game, and we've got girls in positions they've never played before. They knew Divine was a good team, but they hung right there. They rallied behind. Allison was pitching that game. She threw a really strong game. And the girls, you know, Divine was a tough team, but we just found a way to manufacture enough runs, tie it up, and then eventually win it. And that was a big, big boost for an inexperienced team to know, hey, we hung with Sinton, who's top right there in that district above us. We beat Divine. We know going in, we can take on anybody in the playoffs. So I was really looking forward to seeing how the girls would perform this year in the postseason. And I hate they didn't get a chance to do that.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And we were looking for, people in the media were also looking for a lot of big things in that district as well. So, kind of hurt all over, for the players, everybody, fans, and all that. But I mean, just looking at the talent around you guys, I mean, it's not like the area you play in. A lot of these girls, so you guys are battle tested a lot of the time. I mean, right down the road, you got Los Fresnos, you got the Brownsvilles right next to you guys. Constantly, you have these big tournaments here. So, the success you guys had, obviously building up a lot of not only expectations for you, but confidence. Like going into a season like next year, I mean, even though you didn't get to finish this season, you guys had to have come out of it with some confidence and, definitely have taken some steps going forward.
Well, without a doubt, we're excited about this season. We've been excited about this season for 2 or 3 years now, because again, as we start training players from scratch and mixing them with the few that we have, we kind of can tell down the road and it took us a while after that big wave of travel ball players. It took us a while to really train this group that we've got coming through right now and the group behind them so that we're just able to keep filling them in. Luckily for us, we were able to continue winning and continue making the playoffs during that time. But we knew that this year, the 2020 and 2021 were going to give us some really good chances to make some solid runs into postseason. So we knew before this year, next year was going to be a good year. And by all indications, we came out of the shortened 2020 feeling even better about it.
Yeah. And, seeing the contrast from when you first got there to now, I mean, obviously, I guess this is an odd question, but is there any kind of a difference in the way, I guess, you handle the coaching and whatnot? Did you have to make adjustments with the, kids that, don't have that travel ball experience? Is there an adjustment in the way you attack things coaching wise in the program?
Oh, without a doubt. And that's really the reason why it's taken, a while to kind of make sure we get a really solid base. It's not that hard to teach a kid to throw or catch or hit, but to be able to apply those skills at game speed in a game situation, and especially like softball, baseball, these are simple games, yet they're very complicated situationally. As you know, there's so many variables. So the mental part takes a while, and we have to spend a lot of time working on that. But even after they learn it, they have to learn it well enough to be able to react to it. So we do approach the game much differently than we did a few years ago when you had travel ball players. At that point, you had a mix of travel ball players that all did things a little differently because they were on different travel teams, but they all understood the overall concepts, and so they could adapt quickly. Mm-hmm. So the advantage here is we don't have to convince someone to do it differently than they're on their travel team because they're not on a travel team. Okay. So they do only know our way, but we do still need to make sure that they understand it fully. And there are times, sometimes the fans may not understand why we're not doing something. And it's not that we don't know we can't do it. It's just we've got an inexperienced player. They may not know. We can't put them in a position to fail. We got to put them in a position to succeed. And that's what we've tried to do.
Yeah, and it helps when you have some of those girls that can go around play different positions. I mean, we mentioned Allison, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple of girls there that you were able to interchange and put different parts of the field. So, I mean, how does that, having pieces like that, how does that kind of help everybody come along?
Well, and that's really been the key these years as we've brought these teams together, having those key components. And one of them that we lost this year. Just a great kid was Vivi Cantu, 4-year starter for us, started every single game since her freshman year on varsity, played a multitude of positions for us, knew the game really well, was a great leader by example. Of course, right after her was Allison. And so the two of them combined, much different styles, but really able to help kind of direct traffic on the field for us. And so they've taken that ownership of the team. Hated to see Vivi leave on a short season. Hate to see her leave at all. We enjoyed having her these last 4 years. We've got Allison right now for her final year, which I'm sure that she's done everything she needs to do to make sure it's a big one, but she's got a lot of senior teammates with her this year that have been improving tremendously. Mary Jane Cantu, Alana Zermeno, these are two that have come a long, long way. We've got our little outfielders, Kimmy, and we've got the new Selena Marchand, our other travel ball player, who was having a great breakout freshman year last year. So we've got a lot of parts. Whitney Zaleski, of course, is the one that plays basketball, so she gets to us late, but she's an impact player. So we're really feeling good about the kids we got. We know they want to win this year, and I'm excited, hopefully, to be able to see us play.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what we're all hoping too. As things like I said, roller coaster. I mean, 1 second there's a lot of there's things opening up. There's kids going to train. All of a sudden, we have to pull it back a little bit. So we're definitely hoping things move forward and we get to see that team. Because I mean, it seems the last couple of years softball crazy here in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think it's always been that way, but I think now it's one of those sports that have come more to the forefront. Coach, what's that been like for you? I know there's crowds have gone up, fan interactions when it comes to softball, more kids going to more travel teams, more kids picking up the sport. I mean, further runs in the playoffs, teams going to state, just what's that been like to see, over in recent years?
It's been tremendous. I've been involved with softball. Here at the school, this will be my 9th year. Prior to that, with travel ball in the RGV with my daughter. And so to watch it go from, say, 12 years ago to what it is now, you're right. At the school level, at 10, 12 years ago, many of the schools really didn't see it as a sport on the level of the other sports. And a lot of times, unfortunately, they didn't staff it with coaches who took it seriously either. I think right now in the RGV, one of the biggest things, yes, you have a lot more girls playing travel ball, but every school has really gone and got an actual softball coach. Mm-hmm. And there are some outstanding coaches coaching in the Valley right now. And I think that's been evidenced by these, there's not really any easy games, no matter who you're playing. It's competitive. And we are, as a region, making a bigger impact on the state standings and in the state postseason.
Yeah, and it's been a big thing to see. That's one of the big sports. I know that's at Real Sports Live. There's a lot of eyes on softball. It's one of the hottest, sports. So everybody's seen it. It's fun to cover. So the whole RGV resurgence for baseball has been an amazing thing, Coach. So always love talking softball. But let's talk about you a little bit, Coach. A little bit of outdoorsman. I know me, I like to pick up a camera, do some sports photography and everything, but I see you like to go out, unwind, get in the water, get a little wet, and take some photos, coach. So how does that how do you pick up something like that? And I know you've been doing it for a couple of years. I know you write some stuff too, outdoorsy. I mean, just kind of talk to
Well,
people about that.
yeah, that actually predates my coaching. So before I became a coach, I already had a master's degree in history. I'm not really sure why, because I was a full-time fishing guide and writer and photographer.
Oh
So
wow.
I really wasn't using it at all. I just used to joke I was the best educated fishing guide on the coast. But I ended up changing careers as far as that goes. I quit guiding and hooked on with the school where I teach history, obviously, and coach softball and volleyball. So I gave up the guiding part of it, but I continue to fish a lot, and I continue to do the photography and the writing for several outdoor magazines. Something I really enjoy. Not just going out and fishing, but the photography in particular, just being able to be out there, be creative, and try to get some good shots when we can.
Yeah. So was that just always something you always grew up liking? I mean, how did you get into it? Just start writing and all that.
Without a doubt, just grew up, fishing as long as I can remember, and I was one of those odd kids that actually liked to read and and liked to write, and so I actually began writing for local newspapers when I was in high school.
Okay.
As did my daughter. She wrote for most of the local newspapers here when she was in school. Then from there, just continued to write for magazines. Actually, had been the publisher of the local paper here for a few years, and but got out of the news end and just continued on with the outdoor writing end of it.
Okay, yeah, and I gotta tell you, I have a lot of respect for outdoors people that do the writing and do the photography, because first of all, you got to know your stuff, and you got the audience that does read that. Those are people that are really entrenched in it. Those are people that really love it. So I mean, they it's like you put something out, and I feel like those people got you under a microscope. They kind of see what you write about. They kind of they take it in. They're real ingrained with it. And not to go just I worked in Houston for a little while, and I know they put me on just kind of on an assignment. They're like, hey, put something out. We do like this outdoors magazine. And me, like, that's not really my background. So the time and the trouble that I had with it, looking up stuff about foul and like, different types of places to go, the time, it just doesn't, it's not an easy thing to do. So I commend you on being able to do that and make a hobby and a good name for yourself doing it, coach. I mean, that's just one of the things here. Just what's it like from the RGV? What's it to be on that scene here? I know a lot of people go fishing, and obviously they're near MPI. Just what's the scene like?
Well, that's another thing I've seen grow over the years. I've been writing for these magazines for 20 years, and do a lot of personal appearances, seminars, that sort of thing. Oh, wow. But forever, even though I've lived here, cover here, very few people here knew about it because we didn't have the same readership that they did in Houston, San Antonio, Austin.
Yeah.
But I've seen that change. Valley outdoorsmen, fishermen in particular, are becoming much more educated, much more well-read on the sport. So you've seen that grow. Just as we talked about softball becoming more popular and growing, I've seen that that aspect of the outdoor world grow here in the Valley as well.
Yeah, and in those areas up north, that, like I said, I was in the Brazoswood, Brazosport area, so right. There's a big following out there. So yeah, and I've seen it down here too. You're completely right. A lot more people are going out there. A lot more people are, checking out the weather just to see, like, when it is, doing their homework,
right.
Doing their due diligence. So I know it's a big deal. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That's picking up steam as well, coach. But yeah, man, I mean, of this, just seeing some of the stuff you put out, it's really awesome. Just some of the shots you do, the fish and everything. And it's a good way to unwind, being out there. There has to be some sort of peacefulness to it. I know I'm a scenery guy myself. I imagine there's a sense of comfort for you when you're out there.
Oh, without a doubt. I've always enjoyed being on the water. And then, like I said, that added aspect, I love the fish and always have, but the added aspect of having the camera in my hand. I mean, you've shot games, you've shot things before. I mean, you've shot our games before, and when you're looking through the lens, that basically seems like the rest of the world fades away. So you kind of have that layer of you're already outdoors and having that release, but then when you're doing it through the camera lens, it just really brings you a lot more peace, and you can just focus on the task at hand, which is trying to get a great photo.
Yeah, for sure, Coach. It definitely is. When you figure it out and you understand it, it's definitely, yeah, everything fades out and it's a sense of comfort no matter what you're shooting. So being behind the camera definitely is its own animal, and it's definitely fun to do to hone that craft, Coach. But hey, Coach, it's been very interesting talking to you. I appreciate the time. Definitely a little bit something different here, and I know that just the background, like you said, the fishing and the softball here with you. In times like this, it's a little tough, to kind of get to your normal schedule and the things you do. But just for people with similar backgrounds, Coach, any words of wisdom for them, in these times?
Well, right now, luckily, we can still get outdoors. And that's to me, that's a healthy thing to do anyways, physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So not saying to not practice the social distance, so you should, but go individually, one-on-one, two people, whatever, where you can maintain the distance, wear the mask, get outside, get on the water, really kind of get away from the hubs where all the issues are happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Stay safe, but it's still very possible to stay safe and and get out there as long as you practice it and you do your diligence, Coach. And I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad that that you're still getting a chance to do that part, Coach. And wish you and your players and your program all the best. And I appreciate you being here with me today. It was definitely a pleasure.
Hey, same here, Mark. Thanks for the invite.
Just want to let everybody know that we're gonna have more shows as we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1-3 at 5 p.m. here, the Sideline Sit Down. So, join us, and also check us out on Real Sports Live on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Roku TV, Apple TV. All our replays and archives are out there. So be sure to check us out. Everybody, thank you for joining. And once again, Coach Wise from Port Isabel. Appreciate it, Coach. Have a nice day.
You too, Mark. Take care.